Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of season 2. We are at opening day. We've gone through the entire offseason. The team is different and better and upgraded for sure. The farm system is also better, and we're just looking like a better team than the one that won 94 games and won a World Series last year. So I think the first thing we should talk about is our new number one starter, Mr. Shohei Ohtani. We did end up signing him. We did give him a big contract, and it did end up working out in our favor. Um, we gave him a 9-year, $292 million contract, which, if you think about it, this seems kind of low, right? It seems low, and for some reason, I think the game didn't really recognize that he was a two-way player when he entered free agency, and therefore his contract was reflected. Oh, here's this 29-year-old starting pitcher, uh, who we can, offer a 30+ million dollar deal instead of the 50, which I think he'll get in real life. I just saw it. It's kind of funny, willing to consider his no trade to the Los Angeles Angels. Um, so we kind of did the same thing we did with the Pete Alonso extension, where we gave him lower this first year when we have a little bit more money on the books right now, and then it kind of goes right back up. And we did a very similar thing, where his last 2 years are team options, with a almost $5 million buyout and a $3.5 million buyout. Promised a starting pitcher, that's fine. A no trade clause. I didn't really look too hard at this deal other than whether the money made sense. Cy Young bonus and All Star bonus are all good. So we have him at the top of our rotation and in the middle of our lineup, and I'm really excited to actually have gotten this done. I thought there would have been more competition. He didn't really get a whole lot of offers. I think some mid-market teams that had a lot of money to throw offered him some deals. But I don't know. I don't know what else to say about him. He's going to slot right in fine. Verlander bumps to number 2 starter, which is funny after he won a Cy Young award, which was really cool. He won his Cy Young award unanimously, the 2023 MLB Cy Young award. Uh, we will go through awards as well, after we hit this, but I just wanted to hit that real quick. Zach Wheeler, Kodai Senga, and Max Scherzer, whose ratings took a bump. Usually they drop in the offseason anyway, which is fine. But this looks like a 50 overall starting pitcher, and with scouting ratings, they project on tools anyway, which tends to favor prospects. So the older guys usually don't get as good of grades anyway. So this is fine. I guess we'll start to worry if he really starts pitching like a number 5 starter. That's when we'll get worried. Um, but for now, we'll play it by ear. That means I slotted Jose Quintana into the back of the bullpen, which he's apparently fine with. We can kind of have him in that stopper role that we used him um, in the playoffs last year and towards the end of the season. And it also helps, anecdotally, that he had a bad spring training, and we can kind of justify it like that if we're trying to keep the realism. Edwin Diaz is back and healthy and ready to go. He will be our bullpen ace, if you will. And what I usually like to do to kind of keep him pitching a lot is put him in the stopper role and maybe throw like Quintana or McGill into the closer role. But McGill was also just so good in the closer or in the stopper role last year. He pitched in 83 games, 140 innings. So I don't really want to mess with him too much. Yeah, he forgot he won an All Star. Um, so this back three these are the three guys we're gonna lean on, and then Crochet and Morejon. Crochet had a bad postseason. He can still there's still room for growth in here. I'm not super worried about him, but his walk rate in the playoffs was just so high, and it wasn't really. I guess it was pretty high in the regular season. I thought it was lower. Um, so if he can control that walk rate a little bit, he will be this back end bullpen piece. And if he struggles, then we just shift him around. And Morejon looks like a stud. in the back of the bullpen. We could use him as like an opener or a follower type starting pitcher role, but I like him in the bullpen. I like the length. I like the ability he gives us and the flexibility that he gives our team. And then our middle relievers, Eric Orze won the job actually through spring training. He had a 1.17 ERA and I don't know, maybe like, I don't know, something like somewhere between like 8 and 12 innings, something like that. I forget what the number was. So, and I think he's out of options, so we're going to keep him up. Yoendris Gomez, really interesting, intriguing stuff, good stamina. So we're going to keep him in the bullpen. He went spotless in spring training himself. For a middle relief arm at 24 years old, I'm pretty excited about him. And Nabil Krismat, also a middle relief role, potentially long relief. And his stuff looks good. He pitched pretty well for us. He pitched pretty well for San Diego. I don't really know why they put him on waivers, but happy to have him. And Jose Buto as our long reliever / sixth emergency starting pitcher if necessary. He also had a really good spring training, and this looks more interesting. What do the ratings look like if we do that? Worse, but things get better. So I guess that's fine. So he will be our long reliever, our sixth starter, that type thing. So that's the pitching staff. Down in AAA, less depth, I think, this year in terms of starting pitchers, but that's always adjustable. Junior Santos, real life Mets prospect. He's 22. He was Rule 5 eligible this offseason, so I picked him up, put him on the 40 man, and we're starting him at AAA. He had a good AA season last year, so we're gonna push him a little bit more aggressively to start, and he looks like he's gonna dominate, hopefully. So we'll see. Huascar Ynoa was a trade with Atlanta. I like the ground ball pitcher. I like the sidearm. I like the velocity. I like the stamina. The stuff is good. The movement's fine. The control's not. So if he can drop this walk rate, because in 6 innings in the major league level last season, he posted a walks per 9 of 8. But his fastball's good. His slider's good. His changeup's good. What was this deal? We got some money, a 4th round pick for Steven Ridings, who I don't know what happened. This is some good TCR, good for the Braves. His stuff was not that high. His fastball and the slider were not that good last season. History. Let's find out, because that's kind of crazy. So he had good stuff, right? It was a 60-65. And then all of a sudden he just shot up with the Braves. The Braves illegal pitching lab, I guess. That's pretty cool. Good for you, Steven Ridings. So that might end up burning me, but they also got this dude who they released. This dude who is at high A as a 24-year-old reliever, and this dude who's at high A as a 23-year-old reliever. Whatever. But I got some money, and I got a 4th round draft pick, and he's interesting. And really, when he comes up, he's not going to be a starter. He's probably going to be in the bullpen. But if necessary, I guess he's starting pitching depth as well. Alec Mills, free agent signing. He was in indie ball last year. He wasn't really very good, but I like the extreme ground ball. I like the control. So we'll see if he can provide any real value. And then in the bullpen, kind of similar deals here. Bryce Montes de Oca. He looks like he could be good, but he just can't get that control down himself. Apparently, I have a weird thing for relievers who have terrible control but really good stuff. So he'll start the year at AAA. Peterson had a really bad spring training, so when I had to make a cut, that was kind of the deciding factor. So I sent him down to AAA to start the year. He'll be starting pitching depth, which is unfortunate because he had a really good season for us last year. He just didn't perform very well in spring, and he'll be probably the first call up. And Cavius Sampson, interesting stuff, really cool profile. He was also in indie ball with good stuff at indie ball. And then he was in the minors at some point. I forgot. Oh, I bought him from Indie Ball. That's right. So if he can provide some value for us, that would be cool too. And that's pretty much pitching. As for the offense, it's a little bit more. It's interesting, right? We have Pete. We gave him that really big contract we talked about last episode. He'll play first, or he'll play first for us. There's no question there. Shohei will DH and hit as the pitcher, and then the right-handed lineup, we're gonna go Nimmo, Otani, Lindor, Pete, McNeil, Marte, Alvarez, Ciani, and Vientos. There's no real weird things going on here. A couple things. Brett Beatty starting the year on the injured list. He fractured his ulna, so he will be out for 5 weeks. And he looks like he's going to be a stud. Like I'm really excited about how he's going to turn out. And then what that means is Mark Vientos gets to start at third to start the season. His defensive ratings at third are not great, but he gets another crack at the major league team, and we're going to see if he can actually perform. And I'm not going to say I'm willing to cut bait with Mark Vientos, but we got Mr. Eguy Rosario right behind him as our utility infielder / potential Gold Glove left fielder. And so it's not like the job is just his right now. He's kind of got to earn it for this 5-week stretch. He'll get a lot of rope and a lot of opportunity, but we need to see some production at the major league level, I think, this season. And then, most of this lineup is returning. Francisco Alvarez got a really big ratings bump, probably because he plays catcher, and these offensive ratings are better than most catchers. And he, I don't know, maybe he's just happy with that big contract he just got, which I think it was probably a good decision. That 230.8 over 14. Let's do the math real quick. 230,800,123 divided by 14. Yeah, that's an AAV of $16.5 million. I think we sign up for that through his age 35 season, keeping him a Met for life. I like that. And then lefties, I don't think there's much difference here. Rosario backs up on the infield. Gordon, if not, Justin Turner will play some first, some DH, some third probably. Nick Gordon fills in everywhere else, and Nimmo's our emergency center fielder if Ciani needs a break. And then Nick Gordon, again, fills in everywhere else. Justin Turner kind of doesn't have a home on this team after the Shohei Otani trade. But it's kind of nice having his bat off the bench if I need a pinch hitter or a starter. That way the bench just doesn't leak offense. And his defensive rating at third is fine. And his first base rating defensively is fine. I had him play a lot of first in spring training to kind of get that versatility up. Nito, with his excellent defensive ratings, is a good backup catcher. But again, his offense absolutely cratered last season. He was terrible. He was one of the worst players I've ever seen. So if we can kind of limit his playing time and only really let him play when Alvarez is tired, I think that's a win. And that's the lineup. Down at AAA, there's not a whole lot down here. Top prospect William Lugo was in spring training. Didn't really play in spring training. I think I optioned him early. He will be a good piece for us if somebody gets hurt. Mason Wynn, top prospect Mason Wynn. That trade looks better and better every day. He looks like he's going to be a stud as well. He played AAA a little bit for St. Louis last season. I just kept him at AA. And he had a good, not great season, so we're pushing him to AAA, and he should tear it up, and he might push the issue too. So if Vientos isn't performing, I can always pull up Mason Wynn or Lugo and have them play some third and alleviate that issue. Ronnie Mauricio, also Rule 5 eligible this season, so he's on the 40-man. He should get a crack at some playing time this season as well. The game kind of soured on a lot of his ratings. They don't love him anymore, which is kind of unfortunate. Because I think he's a really cool prospect in real life, but he's not apparently special in any specific place. Um, so we'll see how he goes. And Kevin Parada, uh, good, not great. Double A season last year. He played 134 games, which is nice, but the offense didn't really show up. So I think a triple A push might be a little aggressive for him, and he might struggle. So he might have to go back down to double A at some point. But I figured let's be aggressive now while we can with him. He's already 22. He's not old, but he's not young either. A couple friendly Mets faces returning on minor league deals. Jordani Valdespin, if you remember him. Ruben Tejada, I purchased him from the Long Island Ducks, which is where Daniel Murphy was from. So that's offense. That's the offensive depth. Austin Hedges was my emergency catcher if Tomas Nido really tanks, or I just need to move off his money. He accepted a minor league contract, um, so he's down there right now. And if Nito's bad or we get a catching injury, we can always pull him up. So preseason predictions. Maybe let's do. What am I looking for here? What am I looking for? Records, history. I think. We wanted to do award season. Awards. I don't think there were any major player movement going on here. This off season, nothing crazy. Yeah. So what was the first? It's always Gold Glove. Okay. So Gold Gloves. We got Starling Marte and Wright, which is kind of cool. If you remember, his offense was not great, but his WAR was really good, which means his defense was really good. And if we look at 2023, oh, he played one inning in center. That's funny. His zone rating was 0.4. His range was 2.12, and his arm was worth 2.3 or 2.8. His traditional fielding stats were good. 8 outfield assists. So it's not like he was really all that special in the outfield. But it looks like maybe that was some popularity affecting that Gold Glove. AL Gold Gloves, Bieber, Trevino, Diaz, Jimenez, Chapman, Baez, Kwan, Straw, Kepler. Baez is always interesting. Yeah, so he had an 86 OPS plus. He was not good last year either with the bat. And then Fried, Roberto Perez, Christian Walker, Bryson Stott, Nolan Arenado, Dansby Swanson, Brian Reynolds, Trent Grisham, Starling Marte. No real questions here. He signed a contract with the Guardians, or he got traded to Guardians. Interesting. Oh, he did get traded for Justin Campbell, Rodney Boone, Chase DeLauder, and Victor Easteris. Uh, not a great, not great, but I guess if you're the Pirates, that's kind of a deal that it looks like they would do in real life. But he actually just got a good contract, which is nice. Good for him. Very anti-Pirates. Anyway, AL reliever of the year, Emmanuel Clase, won it unanimously. He was really good. I forget. I have to change this around. 43 saves, I think, helped him a lot. But he also put up 1.7 WAR out of the bullpen in 68 innings, so he was electric out of the back. Michael King, Jalen Beeks, Andres Munoz. I have never heard of him, but good for you for having a good season. And then NL reliever of the year, Jose Alvarado from Philly. I think the saves really bump up that possibility of reliever of the year, but again, also a 1.69 ERA in 65 games, 64 innings, a 1.02 WHIP, 0.7 homer per 9, 4 walk per 9. So those guys are viable. If you put up a 13 strikeout per nine and 1.7 WAR. So good season for him. But I thought Tyler McGill was better. I thought he was. I mean, out of the bullpen, this is so much more value. Whatever. AJ Puck, good for you for getting a third place finish. He was good last season too for the Marlins. Trades. AL Silver Sluggers, Reese McGuire, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Jose Altuve, Jose Ramirez, Wander Franco, Joey Gallo, Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, and Shohei Ohtani at DH. So I guess technically we have one Silver Slugger at least on the roster right now. But what I think is really cool was Wander Franco's 353 average. That's so high. 8 WAR. That's insane. That's really really good. His defensive ratings at short are not the best, so I can't imagine what he would look like as like a third baseman. That's probably where I would slot him at, is third base, but that's just me. NL Silver Sluggers, Gabriel Moreno, who looks like a stud. Really good offensive profile. These spring training stats, wow. He had a 123 OPS plus set last season. That looks really good, and he'll probably be even better. That's what a deal. What a trade. The Diamondbacks really lucked out. Anyway, Freddie Freeman, another good Freddie Freeman season. Ketel Marte, Austin Riley, Trey Turner, Juan Soto won the MVP. Spoiler alert. Alec Thomas, Mookie Betts, and Ozzie Albies DHing. Interesting. Okay. AL Rookie of the Year, Gunnar Henderson, unanimous win. That's a really good line. Good for you. NL Rookie of the Year, Ezekiel Tovar, won for he got 27 first place votes, and our boy Francisco Alvarez. He came in third, which is fine, right? I don't think he really had a better season than the other two guys ahead of him. Senga and Siani, that was me. I gave them. I think Senga's like a second and a third place vote for these guys. I don't think Siani was me, actually. I think that was somebody else, but Senga was definitely me. Andrew Taylor, Drew Gilbert. Okay, that's nothing interesting. No. Rocco Baldelli of Minnesota won the manager of the year with a 96 and 66 record. Good for you. Of course, Buck Showalter won manager of the year in the National League. Oh, we won 98 games. That's a lot more than I would have thought. From the time that the prior video comes out to when I'm recording this one, it's been about like a week to 10 days or something like that. So there's a lot that I'm probably missing. AL Cy Young, Jacob deGrom won almost unanimously. You know, it was one random Yankee writer that voted for Carlos Rodon. But Jake had a special season last year. 14 and 10, 240 innings and 34 starts. That's very anti Jacob deGrom of the last 5 years. So I'm really glad he could kind of put it together, even if it's in this game. And he had 287 strikeouts. So good for you. Well deserved. Really good season for him. And then Verlander won it unanimously in the National League. He was so good. He pitched a lot. He put up a lot of stats that traditional and newer writers love. So good for you, Mr. Verlander. Well-deserved Cy Young back-to-back. He's got 4 for his career. He will be a lock for Cooperstown when his time comes. Zach Gallen, good season. Aaron Nola, good season. He got traded halfway through to San Francisco, and he was better there. That's a good contract. That's reasonable for everybody, I think. 6 years, 169. Sorry if you can hear. That's my dog Waffle in the back. Good contract for him. Good season. Freddie Peralta put up a good season, which is interesting given his this is nothing to write home about, but good season for you. Good. I like when players outperform what you expect them to see on their ratings page. Kyle Harrison, Ross Stripling, Blake Snell, Max Scherzer, Wheeler, Senga, Strider. That's pretty much almost exactly who you expect. I think Kyle Harrison placing that high is interesting given he only pitched in 83 innings, but his numbers are pretty good for those 83 innings. And he was out of the bullpen most of the year. Ooh, that's even cooler. He only had 2 starts and he placed that high. Never mind. That's pretty cool. Trade. Colin Holderman, ex Mets farmhand. Athletics Cardinals deal. Wander Franco, AL MVP with Aaron Judge in close second. Aaron Judge put up 56 home runs a year after he hit 62. And then Wander Franco was very clearly the MVP. WAR, his batting line was good. His offensive numbers were good. So at 22, 23 years old, winning your first MVP, he'll win quite a few more in this sim. J-Ram comes in third. That's a really good season for him. Otani, Trout, Julio Rodriguez, Joey Gallo. That's pretty much what you'd expect from your top 8 or so. Jacob deGrom finishing with one, like 5th, 10th, whatever place MVP vote. He probably should have gotten a couple. I usually don't vote for the opposite league that I'm in. But maybe I would have if I had seen that. Juan Soto, almost unanimous. The one first place vote was actually mine for Justin Verlander. Oops, sorry, Juan Soto. You were very close to being a unanimous MVP. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Matt Carpenter coming in 4th is really surprising. Good for you. Brian Reynolds, Rowdy Tellez, Verlander, Acuna, Riley. A lot of guys you would expect. Tatis scoring this low is kind of interesting. They have him playing short. He should not be playing short. He should be in a corner outfield spot. That's a mistake. That's not something you guys should do. That's not what I would do if I had the Padres. Francisco Lindor getting some down ballot MVP votes. Jake Fraley for whatever reason, I guess. Those were your MVPs. Any other guys? Any Trent Grisham? Nope. Trent Grisham went to the Cardinals for Andrew Suarez and Alec Burleson. I had a sim once a couple years ago where he just popped off. It was crazy. Lot of trades. I dropped the frequency to very low at some point in here. Arbitration, trades. Austin Nola to Detroit for Eduardo Rodriguez, who they finally got off his contract, and this dude, and $8 million. Clay Holmes. Top free agents, Brandon Crawford went back to San Francisco on a 2-year, $30 million deal. Good for you. Julio Urias went to Baltimore. That's reasonable. 4-year, $80 million. That's definitely reasonable. If I had seen that, I might have thought about that. Jock Peterson went to Philly. Matt Carpenter went to Cincinnati. Shohei Otani, we already talked about him. Adam Duvall went to Pittsburgh. Aaron Nola went to Detroit. Travis d'Arnaud went to Boston. Omar Narvaez went back to Milwaukee, which I thought was really funny. And I think I touched on it last episode, but Omar Narvaez got this contract at 32 years old for putting up a 110 OPS plus and 2.6 WAR. So that's what makes the Alvarez deal look a little bit better in my head. And Blake Snell went to the Cubs. That for 5 years, 113. So these contracts are not unreasonable, I think, which is nice. But I've seen a lot with inflation just skyrocketing these values, which is not something super fun. Dodgers and Yankees. Alex Verdugo to Atlanta. That's cool. Julio Urias to Boston. We just talked about that. Yeah, I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of other things in here. Reed Detmers, I guess that's like a lesser trade. The Angels are always doing something weird. Oh, Willie Adames. That's a cool trade. Going to the Yankees for DJ LeMahieu and Tristan Vreeling. Wow. It's not something I thought would ever happen, but I guess that's not a good season for him. So cool. I guess it makes sense in hindsight. And he's an expiring too, and I think LeMahieu has 2 years after. Yeah, he's got 2 more years, and the Yankees didn't retain much money. So it's really just kind of a dump, but I would think you could get more for Willy Adames than that. But that's me. Just going to give it a quick run through. I don't want to. Zach Neto, that's a top prospect to the Yankees. For Jose Trevino, that's interesting. Trevino to the Angels. Really good catcher defense. His offense was atrocious, but his defense was so good for top prospect Zach Neto, who should be playing second base. So what happened to Glaber? He's still there? Interesting. Probably DHing. One of them is going to DH. One of them is like a backup infielder, I guess. But yeah, let's hit preseason predictions, and then I think we're going to call it a wrap there. We're at 30 minutes already. Maybe we do preseason predictions next episode. I'd like to try and keep that 20-minute run, and we're running a little long. So we're going to call it here. We'll do preseason predictions, and we'll go through opening day in the next episode. So thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you in the next one.